$1 bills that are worth a ton of money. In this video, I'm going over some bills that you should not ever spend because they're worth way more money than just $1. In this video, I'm going to tell you everything that I know when it comes to $1 bills, what many people don't know, what you need to look out for. This is the only video you'll ever need on $1 bills, so make sure you save it and share it with someone that you care about if you want. But this $1 bill sold for $2,400, and this is why. So there are a few important things we need to go over very quickly. So this bill is from 1977A. As you see at the bottom right hand side, you will see series of. Now, just because the bill has a date on it does not mean that's when the bill was actually produced. For example, this bill could have been produced in 1978, 1979, 1980, etc. It really all comes down to how often the Bureau of Engraving and Printing redoes the printing plates for these bills. So they don't change the year every single year because that would take a lot of time and effort and money to change it every single year. Did you know that? Leave a comment down below letting me know. But also, if you look on the left-hand side of the bill, you'll see what's called a district letter of an E. You will also always see that district letter as the prefix letter of the serial number. As you can see, it is also an E. Lastly, those two should always be the same, and if they're not, it could be really rare and valuable. Also, you'll see a small 5 in 4 places around the bill. That is the district number. Now, it's no coincidence that that number 5 correlates with the E in the fact that E is the 5th letter of the alphabet. So the district letter can be anything from A all the way to L, and the district numbers can be anywhere from 1 all the way to 12. So if that district letter was an A, the prefix would be an A, and the district number around the bill would be a 1. If it was a B, they'd be 2. If it was a C, it'd be 3, etc. If they were ever different, that can be worth a lot of money. So a few more things on this bill. One, it was graded by PMG at a 64 EPQ. That means there's no folds or dents on the bill whatsoever. The higher the grade, the more valuable your bill will be. If your bill has no folds on it, the next thing to consider is the centering. If you look at the left-hand side of the bill versus the right-hand side, the margins, which is that white strip on the left and right-hand side, it's not centered that well. If the bill is better centered, that means it can get a higher grade as long as there's no folds on the bill. If there's a tiny corner fold on the bill that hits the design, it will automatically be a 58, which means almost uncirculated. All right, so another thing is this is a mule note. Now, if you know what a mule is essentially a donkey and a horse, which correlates to this because essentially the back and the front of this bill should have never went together. Now, how do you know that? Well, if you look at the back plate number, that is essentially an internal bookkeeping purpose for the Bureau of Engraving and Printing. That number will be a different size than the front plate number. If your bill has a different size back plate and front plate number, it could be a mule note worth money. Now, one of the main reasons why this bill sold for $2,400 is because this is a Natick test paper bill. What you need to know is that when they were producing bills, they wanted to try a different type of paper, so they used a Natick test paper during a period of time, and they ultimately realized that this was not a good representation of what they wanted for their US paper money. Now, the way you tell if you have one is that you have to have a 1977 $1 bill, and the serial number range needs to be from E760000001H through E806400000H. If you have a bill that's from 1977, it's a $1 bill, and it's in that serial number range, there's a very good chance that you have a Natick test paper note that is worth a lot of money because this one sold for $2,400. I won't spend a lot of time here, but this bill sold for $15,000, guys. Now, the first thing I noticed on this bill is that it has 111 bids on it. Now, that is a huge red flag to me. When I go into the listing, I see that there is a bunch of people bidding on the item that has zero feedback. This is a huge determining factor when it comes to you buying or selling on eBay. You need to be incredibly cautious because there are people out there that will do what's called shill bidding, and they will either do it themselves or they'll have a friend or family member bid on their own item to make it appear that there's a lot of value and people bidding on the item. What you need to know is that you never want to get stuck in one of those situations. But the interesting part about this bill is the fact that it is a solid number 2 serial number. So it's still a very, very rare bill, but not $15,000 rare. In my opinion, this could be worth anywhere from $500 to about $1,500, mainly because the condition of the bill is not that good. Also, like I said before, you want to get a bill like this certified by PMG or PCGS. Be careful out there, guys, because this one sold for $15,000. I hope no one got scammed. Now, this is a real, genuine $1 bill. I won't spend too much time, but it sold for $99,875. Now, this is an area that I really enjoy, but not many people on YouTube tend to agree with me, unfortunately. I'm just a nerd when it comes to this stuff, but what's cool cool about this bill is that this is a 1928 $1 silver certificate bill. The silver certificates mean that back in the day, you could literally bring a $1 bill like this to a bank and exchange it for equal value of silver. Now there's also gold certificate bills, but there's no $1 denomination gold certificate bills. So if anyone ever tells you that, they're lying to you. But what's cool about this bill is that one, it graded very highly by PMG at a 66 EPQ. Also, it is a star note. I'll keep that very brief, but essentially during the printing process, if there's an error on a sheet of bills, what they'll do is they will scrap that sheet and produce a new sheet of bills with a star on it, signifying that it's a replacement note for a sheet that was destroyed. So it's pretty rare. Again, if you have a 1928D silver certificate $1 bill with a star that's in high grade, it's going to be worth a lot of money because this one sold for $99,875. All right, $4,200 for this 1988 $1 bill that was graded by PMG at a 67 EPQ. I'll keep this very brief, but this is what collectors call a web note. Now we see that it's a star note as well. You can see the star at the end of the serial number. Now essentially what a web note is back in the day, they tried to do a new printing technique, which essentially would print paper money in one continuous roll, the same way that they print newspapers. They thought this would be great, but what ended up happening was a ton of mistakes and errors, so they quickly stopped producing banknotes like this. Now there's a very easy way to tell if you have a web note, and that is through a few features that I'm going to show you right here. So the first area you want to look at is Washington's portrait. It's going to look pretty washed out on the web note comparatively to a normally issued bill. Next, you're going to have the front plate number. Now the front plate number for a web note will simply be a number, while on a normally issued bill, it's going to be a letter plus a number or numbers. Now, one of the easiest ways to tell if you have a web note is if you look in the back right-hand side of In God We Trust, you will see a small back plate number on a web note. Now, if the back plate number is not to the right of In God We Trust, that means it is not a web note and it's just a normal bill. Now, the thing is, if you have any one of these three, that means that you have all three of them. There's no way you can have just one of these three that I just went over. So if you have a web note and it's in high grade and good condition and it has a star also, it could be worth a ton of money because $4,200 for this $1 bill. This is a real $1 bill from 1869. I won't spend too much time, but this is one of my favorite types of bills. This is a rainbow note is what collectors call it. Essentially, this is right after the Confederate War era. This is when they started to increase their anti-counterfeiting devices on the bills. That's essentially what the blue security features on the left-hand side of the bill are. You also have the green ornate design and color at the top of the bill. Then you have a large red spiked seal on the right-hand side. You'll also see a depiction of Christopher Columbus and his crew on the left-hand side of the bill. Just a beautiful, well-designed piece of paper money. If you look also on the back of the bill, you're going to see some very ornate, beautiful designs happening. But guys, if you somehow come across an 1869 bill, whether that's at a garage sale or a basement or an attic or somewhere, you're in for a treat because this one that graded by PMG at a 65 EPQ sold for $31,200. So I'll be brief on this $1 bill from 1988 that sold for $24,000. But if you're paying attention before, you can tell immediately that this is a web note. Now I'll give you a minute here, pause the video, leave a comment below. Tell me if you found this reason why it sold for so much money. I want to know if you found it, or even if you didn't find it, let me know that you did not find it. But here we go. This is the reason why it sold for $24,000, guys. It's the smallest detail. But again, this is a web note, guys. Okay. We also know that this bill graded by PCGS at a 40 PPQ. Now understand that that's a lower grade. That means there's likely 3 folds on the bill and some hard handling. This means that you want to keep your bills really flat and safe and not bent or folded, because if this bill was to have graded higher, it would have sold for a lot more money. So if you haven't noticed already, the suffix placeholder there is mismatched. You can see on the top right, it's an L, and the bottom left is a star. So this is what collectors call a mismatched suffix error, and that's why it sold for $24,000. I'll end on this one. This is a 2009 $1 bill that is a serial number 1 bill. Now, one important thing I want to share here is if you look at the front plate number on the left-hand side, you'll see an A and a number. If you look at the front plate number and letter at the bottom right, you're going to see the A and then a number followed by an FW before that letter A. I'll keep this very brief, but if you're looking at the front plate number, that's essentially an internal bookkeeping number and letter for the Bureau of Engraving and Printing. But if your bill has an FW like that, that means that the bill was produced at Fort Worth, Texas facility. If your bill has no FW anywhere on it like this, that means it was produced at the Washington, D.C. facility. What you need to know is that depending on how many bills were produced for each specific printing facility will dictate how much demand there is based on the quantity of the bills. What you need to know is that this is a serial number 1 bill and it sold for $3,840. If you enjoyed this video, then you'll definitely enjoy the video on the screen. I will see you in the next one. Imagine coming across a $10 bill like this and later finding checking out, it sold for $1,325. That's why education on these areas is so important, so you don't accidentally spend one of these bills, or worse, try to sell it and end up getting ripped off. That's not what we want to happen. So let's just hop right into this video. So this $10 bill is from 1928. It's important to know that 1928 was the first year they started producing small size paper money bills like this. Before 1928, there were large size bills, but more on that in a different video. Really quick, you'll notice that this bill was graded by PCGS Banknote at a 63 PPQ. That means there are no folds on the bill. This is a very high grade, and the highest achievable grade in grading is 70. So why did it sell for so much? Well, first of all, it's from 1928. Second of all, it graded very highly. And third, this is a star note. So you can see the star at the end of the serial numbers there. That means that this bill was part of a run that needed to be replaced because there was an error on the sheet. So typically what happens is when they're producing these sheets of bills, if there is an error on the sheet, what they'll do is they will destroy that sheet and replace it with a star sheet or a replacement note like this. And they need to do that for bookkeeping purposes and to make sure there's no theft going on in the Bureau of Engraving and Printing where they produce these bills. So if you have a 1928 $10 bill like this and it's a star note in high graded condition, make sure you hold on to it because this one sold for $1,325. There are people out there that don't want us to know how much coins like this are actually selling for. This 1965 10-cent Roosevelt dime sold for $13,200 and it was graded by NGC at a mint state 61. We all need to know that 70 is the highest achievable grade for these coins, and it's typically the smallest detail you need to pay attention to make sure that you don't accidentally overlook one of these really rare coins. Now, I'll keep this very brief. This coin is a mint error and it was accidentally struck on a 90% silver planchet and it weighs 2.48 grams. Now, keep in mind, if this coin was to have graded higher, it simply would have brought a lot more money. That's why it's so important to keep your coins very safe. If you want to learn more about that, I have a free ebook down below, but you don't have to do that. What you need to know here, guys, is that pretty much the weight is so important on these coins. So if you have a 1965 10-cent coin, you should get a scale so you understand the weight of the coin. And if your 1965 coin weighs 2.48 grams, there is a chance that it's rare and it's worth a lot of money, just like this one that sold for $13,200. Subscribe because I release videos every single day. I'll see you in the next one. $15,000 for this $1 bill. In this video, I'll show you what you need to know about this one little dollar bill that made it sell for so much money. First thing I'll say about this bill is that it was sold on eBay and the condition of the bill is not that good. You can see a lot of folds and handling, even a tear at the bottom right there. Not the best condition, but an important thing to know is that this $1 bill was from the series of 2017. You can see that next to the signature of the Secretary of the Treasury. Now, an important thing to know is that just because your bill has a date on it like this does not mean that's when it was actually produced. You see, when these bills are being produced, they are first engraved onto sheets that transfer onto these pieces of paper. Long story short, they don't want to have to change the year every single year on these printing plates. So what they do is they'll produce a plate with a year like 2017 and they will use those plates up into a certain point and then they will make a new year for the bills. So this bill could have been produced in 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, etc. Another important thing to know here is that if you look at the plate position on the front bottom right hand side of the bill, you will see a C, then a 5, and then before that you'll see an FW. You don't really need to worry about the C or the 5. Those are just mainly meant for internal purposes, but the FW stands for Fort Worth, where this bill was produced. Now, if your bill does not have an FW before the plate position there, then you have a bill that was produced at the Washington, D.C. facility. So if you haven't noticed by now, this is a solid number 2 serial number. Now, typically, these bills will not be worth this much money, but remember, the cooler your serial number is, the more fancy it is, typically speaking, the more money it's going to be worth. Now, there's a very high probability that this bill did not actually sell for this much money simply because it looks like there was some shill bidding going on. What I mean by that is that there will be multiple people bidding on the item to try and artificially inflate the value of the bill in hopes that someone will bid on it, thinking, wow, if these other people are bidding this much money, then I probably should too. So hopefully nobody actually got ripped off here. But if you look at the bid history, you can see there's a bunch of people with zero feedback and the same users continually bidding on this item, which to me makes it seem like there's some not so great tactics being used here to artificially inflate the value. So be careful out there, guys, because there are people that are trying to rip us off, and that's why education is so important. Not many people know what to look for. Don't let these coins slip by because you could have something worth a lot of money. Just like this coin that sold for $19,200. And in this video, I'll tell you exactly what you need to be looking for to make sure you don't pass one up. The last thing I want to happen to you guys is for you to bring a coin like this to a pawn shop and they offer you $100. Now, sure, $100 for a penny is a ton of money over its face value of 1 cent, but the reality is some of these coins can be worth a ton of money. So enough rambling. Why did this coin that graded by PCGS at a mint state 61 sell for $19,200? First of all, we need to know that 70 is the highest achievable grade for these coins. So if you find a coin like this, please keep it very safe because the smallest nick and gash will decrease the value hundreds or thousands of dollars. So the first thing you probably see on this coin is the fact that the color is different. Now, this can be normal if the air oxidizes with the coin and changes the color due to environmental conditions. That's not the case here. This coin was accidentally struck on a Philippine Centimo planchet. It is aluminum and it's a uniface coin. That means one face. If you look at the front of the coin, you can see it's there, but the back of the coin is completely blank. Weighing your coin with a scale can also tell you there's something wrong with the coin. Just understand that if your coin is severely damaged by nature, it will have less material on it, causing it to be a lesser weight. If you find a coin like this, you've hit the jackpot because $19,200 this coin sold for. If you enjoyed this video, smash that subscribe button. I'll see you in the next one. Bingo, baby. These coins sold for a lot of money. And in this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to be looking for on your rare coin to see how much money it's actually worth. Please understand that there are people out there that do not want you to know this information. There are scammers out there, so be very cautious whenever selling your coins. Just understand it's important that if you do your homework and research to be educated, get the opinion of multiple people before you sell your coins. But let's just hop into this video. So this 1932D 25-cent Washington quarter sold for $82,250, and here's why. So please understand that the 1932 was the first year they ever produced the Washington quarter like this. Now, this specific example was produced at the Denver Mint, and you can tell because if you look at the back bottom center of the coin, you will see a small little d mint mark. If the coin has no mint mark, that means it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. If it has an S mint mark, that means it was produced at the San Francisco Mint. Now, this one was graded by PCGS at a mint state 66. That is 4 points away from the perfect grade of 70. Now, when it comes to the 1932 coin, what you really need to know is that the condition is the pivotal factor that will produce high amounts of money for your coin when you go to sell it. What does that mean? Well, if you come across a coin like this, you better keep it safe because the condition is king when it comes to this coin. That's why it sold for $82,250. This coin sold for $28,750. That's because this 1968 10-cent Roosevelt dime was graded by PCGS at a proof 68. Now remember, 2 points away from the perfect grade of 70. If it would have graded higher, it would have simply brought more money. Now, why did this one sell for a lot of money? Well, the first thing you need to know is that this is a proof coin. So I'll show you a quick diagram of the difference between a proof coin and a normally issued business strike coin. Now, proof coins are not always worth more money, but a lot of the time they are. You pretty much will not find a coin like this out in pocket change or circulation, but you would find one in a collection. So if you have a collection or were given a collection, keep your eyes peeled for a coin like this. So again, why did it sell for so much? Well, because this coin should typically have an S mint mark around the date, but it does not. If your coin is missing an S mint mark and it's a proof coin, that's the important part. It needs to be a proof coin for it to be worth this much money because there is a Philadelphia issued coin that looks just like this, but it's not a proof. I hope that makes sense. You got to be very careful because there are people out there that will polish a normally issued Philadelphia coin to make it look like a San Francisco minted coin like this because this one should have an S mint mark. Long story short, without boring you with too many details, if your 1968 S mint marked coin is missing that S mint mark and it's a proof coin, you're in for a treat because $28,750 for this one little Roosevelt dime. I'll spend 5 seconds on this coin that sold for $1,980,000. If you come across an 1874 $10 coin like this, you are in luck because it sold for nearly $2 million now. You need to get the opinion of multiple people, guys. Don't just bring this to the first pawn shop or coin shop because you need to get the full value for your coin. Now, there's a high probability that if you actually found this coin, it's simply fake. People see a price tag like $1.98 million and say, hey, I'll just replicate a coin like this and try to scam someone. Be very cautious out there, guys. Let's go to the next coin. $26,400 for this 1940 5-cent Jefferson nickel with the reverse of a 1938. Now, this coin graded by PCGS at a proof 68. So if the front of the coin looks like this, now I'll just point out something very obvious, the toning that's happening here. Toning is a naturally occurring oxidation process where the air will oxidize with the metals in the coin, causing this look. It all really depends on where the coin is stored. Now, there are people out there that will try to artificially tone a coin to make it look cool, but most grading companies will be able to catch that very quickly. They do that to try to increase the value of the coin, but it actually decreases the value. But what you need to know is that if the front of your 1940 nickel looks like this and the back looks like this, then the back is actually from 1938 and it should have never happened. That doesn't really matter as much if the condition is not good. Remember, this coin, the condition needs to be phenomenal. High grade here of a 68, that's why it sold for $26,400. $180,000 for this 1943 cent coin graded by NGC, a mint state 61 brown. There's also an obverse die break. See that at the bottom of the coin. Now, obverse means the front of the coin, reverse means the back of the coin. This one just has a break in the die when it was being produced. But the main reason why this coin sold for so much money is because this 1943 coin was accidentally struck on a bronze planchet when in reality it should have been struck on a zinc coated steel planchet. So if you have one, you're in for a treat because this one sold for $180,000. If you enjoyed this video, smash that subscribe button and I'll see you in the next one. When you first look at this coin, you would probably not believe that it sold for $528 given the fact that this 1970 Roosevelt dime has what looks like a bunch of brown foreign substance all over it. This is what you need to know about this specific coin because in this video, I'm going to show you coins that you should never spend due to how much value they actually sold for. So let's just hop right into it. So this coin actually graded by NGC at a proof 67. The highest grade to get is 70, so it's only 3 points away. Now it all comes down to the condition. Now you may be wondering, how does a coin like this grade so highly if it has all of that substance on it? Well, that's actually considered to be toning. Now toning is a naturally occurring oxidation process that happens when the air will oxidize with the metals in the coin, causing this appearance to happen. Now toning can happen in multiple different types of fashion and look different depending on where the coin was stored and multiple other factors. The reason why this coin sold for so much money is because it's actually a proof coin that is missing an S mint mark. Now, what do I mean by that? So first of all, I'll show you the difference between a proof coin and a business strike normally issued coin right here. What you need to know is that proof coins can be worth more money, and a lot of the time proof coins come with an S mint mark standing for the San Francisco Mint. Now, proof coins are not always minted at the San Francisco Mint, but a lot of the time they are. If your coin has no mint mark on it, most of the time that means it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. But in this case, the coin was produced at the San Francisco Mint, but it's missing the S mint mark, if that makes sense. So if you have this coin and it's missing an S mint mark and it's a proof coin and it grades very highly, you're in luck because this one sold for $528. Now, this is a coin that you can find out in circulation. This is a 1914D 1 cent coin graded by NGC at a good 6. Now, that is on the lower spectrum of the grading scale. That means this coin was out there in circulation for a long time before someone saw it and said, hey, this is a rare coin. They got it graded and they sold it for $140 for this one little penny coin. $2,880 for this 1955 1 cent wheat penny coin graded by NGC at an AU 58. Now, AU stands for almost uncirculated. So this coin was actually out in people's pocket change before someone noticed that it was rare and ended up selling it for a lot of money. So if you have not noticed already, this is a doubled die obverse coin. You can see Liberty at the left, the date at the right, and In God We Trust at the top. It is simply doubled. Now, 1955 is famous for having a very strong doubling. Sometimes doubling does not look this obvious and apparent, but in this case it is. If you have one, you have a very rare and valuable coin because this one sold for $2,880. If you want to learn more about rare coins, I have a completely free ebook down below, but you don't have to do that. Just hit that subscribe button and I'll see you in the next video. Do you have this coin? Well, it sold for $510, and in this video I will tell you exactly why it sold for so much money and what you need to keep your eyes peeled for on these 2023 quarters that are selling for a ton of money online. So this is a 2023D Bessie Coleman American Woman quarter. Now, what's interesting about these brand new quarters is the fact that the US Mint is producing tons of them, and that in turn is causing facing a huge issue with the quality of these coins. The US Mint is producing a lot of errors, and this one, the title says error on the airplane. So let's look closely at this airplane. If I'm being 100% honest, I do not see any error on this coin. Now, typically people will get confused and think that their coin is an error when in reality it is simply damaged. A lot of the time errors will come up towards you and damage will go down inwards of the coin, if that makes sense. If you strike a coin with a hard or sharp object, the damage will go into the coin, but if there's an error, errors a lot of the time are raised above the surface and will come towards you. This one also has 42 bids, and a lot of the bids seem a bit sketchy. I would be very cautious when buying something like this online. This is not financial advice, but I do advise against buying something like this unless you simply love the coin. Again, I think this coin is worth no more than 25 cents personally, but there are some coins out there with errors that are worth hundreds of dollars. So keep your eyes peeled for any sort of error on your coin because it could be worth a ton of money. Hopefully no one got scammed on this one that sold for 510 bucks. Did you find one of the $1 bills in this video? Well, if you did, you've hit the jackpot because these bills sold for a lot of money, and I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to be looking for to make sure that you don't accidentally spend one of these rare $1 bills. So let's hop right into this video. So first of all, if you look at the back of this bill, it's important to know that during the printing process, the first print on US federal currency is the back of the bill. Now the next print is the front of the bill, and the third and final print is the overprint, which is the green seal, serial numbers, and the black seal there. Pretty much anything that is not doubled here on the front. This has an additional face printing on it, so the face or the second print was doubled, causing this error. It graded very highly at a 66 PPQ. That means there's no folds on it whatsoever. That allowed it to sell for $7,200. I'll be very brief here, but $30,000 for this $1 silver certificate bill. Now this one graded at a 50 EPQ. That means there's folds on it, so it could have graded higher. Remember, the highest achievable grade is 70. The reason why this bill sold for so much money is because it's a 1928E silver certificate. So really quick, back in the day, you could actually bring these $1 bills to the bank and get silver in return. That's why they call them a silver certificate. They also have gold certificates, but more on that in a different video. Not for the $1 bill though. What you need to know here is that if you come across a 1928E silver certificate and it has a star before the serial number and it's around this condition, you pretty much have a bill that's worth a lot of money because this one sold for $30,000. $1,860 for this one little dollar bill. Now this one is from the 2013 series. Now understand this, just because your bill has a date on it does not mean that was the actual year it was produced. That is the year that they produced the plates for this bill. Now they can use plates years and years after they were actually produced. So this specific bill could have been produced in 2013, 2014, 2015, etc. But what's important here is the fact that it is a descending ladder serial number. That means the serial number goes all the way from 7 down to 0 consecutively. And it's a very high grade. These things combined allowed it to sell for $1,860. If you enjoyed this video, then you'll definitely enjoy the video on the screen. I will see you in the next one. I don't typically do videos like this, but this coin sold for a staggering $2,160,000. I'll keep this video very brief. This is an 1855S. That S mint mark stands for the San Francisco Mint where this coin was produced. This is a $3 coin that graded by PCGS at a proof 67. Now this coin is incredibly elusive because there were not that many produced, to say the absolute least, and the fact that it graded so highly, that means the condition is really good. There is a ton of history on this coin. A lot of people didn't even know it existed until recently. The coin weighs 5.02 grams. The metal composition is 90% gold and 10% copper. All you need to know is that if you have a coin like this, you've hit the mother lode. Make sure it's genuine and not a counterfeit coin. But again, $2,160,000 for this $3 gold coin from 1855. These 2022 shield pennies can be worth a lot of money, and there are a few things you need to understand when it comes to looking for these coins and being able to sell them for a lot of money. Before that, I think it's important to understand that the US Mint produced 1.2 billion coins for circulation in January of 2023. Now, I will show you a list from January 22 to 23 of the circulating coin production. You can see on the right there is a rank all the way from 1 to 13. So you can see that the US Mint is still producing a lot of coins. And this isn't just one mint. This is the Denver Mint and the Philadelphia Mint. And you can see here that the total is over 1.2 billion, which is so many coins when it comes to just the production of January January 2023. But as for this Lincoln Shield cent penny here, this one was graded by PCGS at a mint 67 plus red. So what's cool about this is that 70 is the highest achievable grade. So this one is getting very close. This one is really neat because it has a plus designation after the 67. Essentially what that means is the coin does look really nice for the grade. This one also has a red or RD designation. Now, penny coins can either come in red, brown, or brown depending on multiple variables like the type of planchet and also environmental conditions that can react with the coin to change its color over time. What you need to know is that red coins typically bring more money, but that's not always the case. Because this one graded very highly, it sold for $395. Now understand, getting your coin graded is very challenging. If you want to learn more about coins, I have a completely free ebook down below, but you don't have to do that. I will see you guys in the next video. Keep learning, keep doing your homework and research, guys. In this video, we're going over $20 bills that sold for a ton of money. You guys don't want to miss this whatsoever. I won't waste any more time. Let's just hop right into this video. So this 1928 $20 bill sold for $18,000. And the main reason is because this is the first year they ever started producing these small size paper money bills. This is also a very highly graded bill at the 65 gem uncirculated grade, which does mean that there is no folds whatsoever on the bill. Now, to get the perfect grade of 70, you can see the margins on the left and right, that white strip all around the bill. It would need to be perfectly centered to get a higher grade. Now, the higher the grade you achieve, the more money your bill is going to be worth. This is also a light green seal, which means typically the seal and serial numbers are going to be a darker green. For whatever reason, collectors do like the light green seal because it looks a bit different. If you have a bill like this and it's a star note, you're in for a treat because this one sold for $18,000. So this is one of my favorite $20 bills ever. Now, back in 2006, this bill sold for $25,300, which I'm showing you on the screen right now. Now, just a few years ago, the same exact bill graded by PMG sold for $396,000. That just goes to show that a bill like this can dramatically increase in value over time. Now, what exactly happened here? So first we have to understand that on the back of the bill, you're going to have a back plate number. That back plate number is located at the bottom right hand side. Essentially, that is a plate position for the Bureau of Engraving and Printing. It's essentially an internal number so they know what position this bill was on for that specific plate. What you need to know is that the back of the bill is actually printed first, and then the front of the bill is printed second. If you look closely at this Del Monte banana sticker, you can see it's above the second print, but below the third print. The third print is the serial number and seals that you see there. You can tell it's above the second print because it's covering the 20 at the bottom right and the 20 at the top, and it's also covering part of the signature there that is the second print. What you guys need to understand that is if you ever have a retained obstruction like this, never ever remove it from the bill. I know it may be a little bit tempting to just simply peel that sticker off and see what's beneath, but by doing so, you would dramatically decrease the value of the bill. So never do that. But because this Del Monte sticker $20 bill is an iconic and probably one of the most rare and valuable errors out there, this bill sold for $396,000. So when you're looking at the front of this 1974 $20 bill, you'd have no idea that it sold for $32,900 until you flipped it over and saw that the back of the bill was a 10. Some collectors call this a double denomination error. Some people call it a $30 bill. Whatever you want to call it, just understand that if you come across one, you're in for a real treat because $32,900 for this one. This $20 bill from 2004 graded only 2 points away from the perfect grade of 70, and the biggest reason why it sold for $999.99 is because this is a rare serial number. This is what collectors call a binary repeater serial number. When they say binary, they mean zeros and ones. By repeater, they mean that 010101 is repeating throughout the serial number. What you need to know is that if you come across a rare bill like this, you're in for a treat because $1,000 for this $20 bill. If you enjoyed this video, YouTube says you'll definitely enjoy the video up above, so click on that video and I'll see you inside. Look, not many people know that these 2018 Lincoln Shield cent coins can be worth a lot of money. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly why and what you need to be looking out for on these coins that could potentially be worth tons of money. So one important thing to know is that these coins come in coin rolls. Now, if you come across a roll of coins that is in a plastic tube, that means the coins have already been searched through. So if you're coin roll hunting for some high grade examples, you want to look at brand new rolls. When it comes to the value of a coin like this, it's really going to come down to the condition. Now, this coin right here is a reverse proof. So proof coins are meant to go into collectors' hands. They're never really meant to go out into circulation, but you can see the foreground of the coin is actually mirrored when typically the field or the backdrop of the coin is going to have that mirror look to it on a proof coin. That's why this is a reverse proof coin. It graded by the grading company PCGS at a perfect grade of 70, and it sold for $94. Same thing here, guys. Not going to spend too much time. This company, NGC, is also a great company to get your coins graded by. They also have a special label with a signature here with the designer of the Union Shield, which is a cool feature. Again, the 70 grade, and this one sold for $99. Now, really quickly, I need to say this. If you see any comments down below ever on any of my videos telling you to talk to me on WhatsApp or that I'm trying to sell you something or buy something from you, please be very skeptical, because that is not me. There are a bunch of scammers and bots that are on YouTube, and I'm always trying my best to report and delete those comments. So please just be aware. I wanted to tell you that really quickly, but this coin right here is a normal proof coin roll. So someone got a roll of these coins, which is 50 pieces, and they're selling all 50 pieces for $150. They've already sold 9 of them. They have a $5 shipping fee. They're pretty much getting these coins and selling them for $3 each, but in a bulk roll. So they're making some good money here, guys. $150 for these 50 pieces. Now, this coin sold for $231. It was shipped from Bulgaria, which is a bit skeptical for me. Curious as to why this person had this all the way in Bulgaria, but this coin is clearly a mint error. Now, they're calling it a doubled die, which this is not. This is more of a numerous strike error that occurred. Now, to me, some red flags. I mean, there's 54 bids, which is a lot. The seller has 98.9% positive feedback, which is okay, but I would prefer there to be 100% positive feedback. If you're considering buying one of these coins, be very skeptical, but if you have a rare coin like this, and it is indeed genuine, you definitely want to get it graded and authenticated before you try to sell it. Now, if you want to sell the coin locally, you're going to have to see at least 3 coin shops, in my opinion. That way you know you're getting the true value of the coin. Now, understand, if you sell to a coin shop, they are a small business and they also have operating costs, so they need to make a small profit off of you. The way you can make the most money is if you're able to sell directly to a collector. If you do want to know more about rare coins, how to handle them, their values, I have a completely free ebook down below, but you don't have to do that. Just keep doing your own homework and research. Let's go into the next coin. So this coin right here, he sold one of them. He has 2 more available, and he sold them for $339.99. Essentially, this is a 2018 D. That means this has a D mint mark standing for the Denver Mint, where this coin is produced. It also was graded by NGC at a mint state 68 red. Now, really quickly, these coins can either be red, brown, or brown. Now, these 2018 coins are not really going to be ever designated as brown, at least not anytime soon. But essentially what you need to know is that the closer to the mint state appeal and look they are, which most of the time is red, the more valuable the coin is going to be worth. People want to have red coins for the most part, but there are plenty of coins that grade red, brown, or brown that sell for way more money than this. But again, this is a lot of money for one coin from 2018 that sold for $339.99. If you enjoyed this video, then you'll definitely enjoy the video on the screen. I'll see you in the next one. There are people out there that don't want us knowing that a coin like this sold for $13,200. This is the type of coin that someone would bring into a coin shop or pawn shop. The store owner knows that it's rare and valuable, but ends up ripping off that person for a lot of money. They could say, hey, your coin is actually rare, it's worth $100. Then they go ahead, get it graded and sold, just like this one that sold for $13,200. Now, this Roosevelt dime is from 1965, and there is no mint mark on this coin, meaning that it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which produced over 1.6 billion of these coins for 1965. Now, if the coin had a D mint mark around the date, that would mean that it was struck at the Denver Mint, and they produced over 1.8 billion of these coins. So this specific coin right here is incredibly rare, and there's not many of them in existence. So why did it sell for so much money? Well, let's get into it. So the first thing that's important to know is that if you find a coin like this, you must get it certified by a company like NGC or PCGS, because if you were to sell it raw, not graded, it would not bring anywhere near this amount of money, because people would not know if it's actually a genuine coin coin or not. Keep in mind, this coin sold recently on January 12th of 2023. Now, if you're watching this video in the future, it could be worth even more money in the future. So it does not matter when you're watching this video. But what happened here is that this coin was accidentally struck on a 90% silver planchet, which should have not happened. So a planchet is essentially a piece of metal that the coin is struck on. Now, the way you can tell if the coin is an error like this one is if it weighs differently. So this coin weighs 2.48 grams, when in reality, it should weigh 2.27 grams. So keep your eyes peeled for a coin like this, guys, because you could be sitting on a gold mine, just like this person was that sold their one little Roosevelt dime for $13,200. This 1968 10-cent Roosevelt dime sold for $22,200, and here's why. So the first thing you'll notice about this coin is that it is very shiny and lustrous. That is because it is a proof coin. A little bit more on that in a minute, but one thing you'll notice on this coin is some brown blemishes around the coin. That is completely natural and normal and will not decrease the grade for this specific coin. This coin was graded by PCGS at a proof 68. It's important to know that that's only 2 points away from the perfect grade of 70. So this is the reason why it sold for so much money. First, I'm going to show you a diagram of the difference between a proof coin and a normally issued mint state coin. These proof coins typically go out into collections, and they're not meant to go out into circulation, but sometimes they do. This type of coin is one that you'll more likely find in a collection rather than out in circulation. By circulation, I just mean pocket change. So proof coins like this should all come with an S mint mark around the date. This was an accident and it did not have that S mint mark. Now this is the tricky part. There's a Philadelphia issued coin that looks just like this, but it is not shiny. It's not a proof coin. That coin is only worth 10 cents. There are some people out there that will get the normally issued Philadelphia coin and try to polish it to make it look like this rare coin right here. I would not advise for anyone to do that. What you need to know is that if you have a proof coin, that means the field or the backdrop of the coin is going to look like a mirror. It's a 1968 and it's missing an S mint mark standing for the San Francisco Mint. You're in for a real treat because this coin sold for $22,200. Leave a comment below saying I learned something. If this video brought you any value, it would really help me out. I will see you guys in the next video. Whatever you do, do not spend the bicentennial quarters that you see in this video because they sold for a ton of money, and the last thing I want to happen to you is for you to accidentally spend or sell one of these coins when they're actually worth a ton of money. So the first thing we need to understand is that there were 5 different types of bicentennial quarters produced by the US Mint. Now understand that when these coins were first produced, people thought they would be incredibly rare and valuable, so what they started doing was they started hoarding them in large quantities. Now what did the US government do? They simply produced more, and I mean a lot more. So the 5 different types of coins that they had for these bicentennial quarters was the 1976 clad bicentennial quarter, you got the 1976 D clad bicentennial quarter, you have the 1976 S silver bicentennial, you have the 1976 S clad proof bicentennial, and you have the S silver proof bicentennial quarter. A bit of a mouthful there because of all the different varieties, but when I say S or D or no mint mark, that means where the coin was actually produced. Like this example you see on the screen has an S mint mark because this coin was produced at the San Francisco Mint. Now this coin was graded by PCGS at a mint state 69. Now this is the silver example of the coin. It is not a proof coin. Now sometimes proof coins can be worth more money than normally issued mint state coins like this, but this is not the case here. If the coin was graded the perfect grade of 70, it would have brought more money than $6,600, which is still a ton of money for this one little quarter. I'll be very brief here, but this one is a clad Washington quarter with a double curved clip graded by PCGS at an AU 55. You can see at the top right and bottom left there's a naturally occurring mint error. This is also a D mint marked coin. You can see on the bottom right hand side of the coin that stands for the Denver Mint. So essentially because someone found this coin and got it graded, they're able to sell it for $57. But let's hop into the next coin. $1,920 for this silver 1976 S 25-cent Washington quarter that was double struck and 180-degree rotated coin. Now this is a proof coin that was graded by PCGS at a 64. Now I will show you the difference right here of what it means when I mean proof coin versus a normally issued mint state coin. Proof coins typically have a shiny luster and appearance to them, especially in the field or backdrop of the coin. Now don't get this confused for damage because this is a true genuine error. Now there are people out there that will get 2 coins and strike them together to try to make this appearance actually happen. That's not the case here because a third-party company, PCGS, actually authenticated and graded the coin at a proof 64, allowing it to sell for $1,920, $6,600 for this 1976S bicentennial quarter. Now this one was graded by NGC at a proof 67, which is such a high grade for a coin that looks very damaged. What actually ended up happening here was somehow this coin was accidentally struck on a cent coin. Some collectors will call this a double denomination error because it's a 25-cent coin that's also on a 1-cent planchet. And by planchet, I just mean the blank piece of metal. What you need to know is that if you have one of these coins, keep it safe because this one sold for $6,600. This S mint marked coin that is silver and also a proof graded by PCGS at the 70 grade sold for a lot more money than just 25 cents. If you have one, typically you would find one in a collection. Someone was able to turn 25 cents into $170. Now this coin sold on eBay for $2,500 and here's why. So you have to be very careful on eBay because there are a lot of bad people that are trying to scam and you have to be very careful of that. This may be an example. When you're looking at these sold listings for bicentennial quarters, you see a lot of sales. I'll show you right now. Now there's really no reason a circulated coin like this should sell for this much money. You can also be skeptical when you see a lot of bids on an item. This one didn't have any bids because it was a buy it now listing, but you have to be very skeptical because again guys, this one sold for $2,500 when in reality the coin is actually only worth, in my opinion, 25 cents. If you enjoyed this video, then you'll definitely enjoy the video on the screen. I will see you in the next one. Don't spend the $100 bills that you see in this video because they sold for a lot more money than $100. Trust me, I understand. $100 is a lot of money, but imagine turning a $100 bill into thousands just like the ones in this video. I mean, look at this $100 bill that sold for $4,993.75. This is an older bill from 1928. It's important to know that this is the first year they ever started producing small size paper money. Before 1928, they used large size bills that were much larger than our typically issued small size bills today. What you need to know about this bill that sold for almost $5,000 is the fact that it graded very highly at a 68 PPQ. Now, if you have a bill that's from 1928 and it's in high graded condition like this, there's no folds or dents or tears or stains, anything like that, then it's probably worth getting graded like this person did. It allowed them to sell it for nearly $5,000. So this is a cool one. This is a star note from 1928. Now there's going to be some other bills in this video, so don't worry. But this bill sold for $7,200 and here's why. So it's a 58 grade by PMG. That means there is a fold somewhere on the bill. Now the thing with this note is the fact that the stars occur during the printing process when a sheet of bills has an error on it. A quality control manager will strike out the sheet and produce a new sheet of paper money bills. What happened here somehow is when they were producing the new sheet, they added the star at the end of the serial number, but that star somehow got inverted. That's right, guys. The star is upside down. That's the smallest detail that not many people know what to look for. But now that you know that small detail, if you ever see a star like that, I'd appreciate it if you smash that subscribe button and like button as it really does help me out. But let's go to the next bill. This is a real $100 bill. I won't spend too much time, but it sold for $223,250. So I thought it was worth bringing up in case you come across one. But again, a 1928 bill. Now you're maybe wondering, why does it look like the seal and serial numbers are gold or yellow? That's because this is a gold certificate, which means back in the day, you could bring this $100 bill to a bank and get equal value in real gold. That's right. You could bring a piece of paper to the bank and receive gold in exchange. Such a cool thing that unfortunately no longer exists. But again, if you guys have a gold certificate from 1928, you're in luck because this one sold for $223,250. So when you're looking at the front of this 1977 $100 bill, you don't see anything really crazy with it. You have no idea why it sold for $2,280, but it's only when you flip the bill over, you can see that the back is completely missing. Now, really quick, during the printing process, it's important to know which sides are printed first. So the back of the bill is actually the first print, the front of the bill is the second print, and the overprint, which is the black and green seal and serial numbers, is the third and final print of this bill. So the first print just didn't happen. They got this note graded by PMG. They probably found it somehow and said, hey, this is wrong. They got it graded and they turned $100 into $2,280. Yes, this is a real $100 bill from 1882. And this is a large size paper money gold certificate bill. Just a beautiful piece of our history here. And I wanted to bring it up in case you come across one because because this one sold for $822,500 for this $100 bill, large size gold certificate note. Just not much to say. You can see the back of the bill has a very vibrant and orange color. One of my favorite types of bills that's way out of my budget. I wish I could own one day, but there's just simply no way. I can just view from a distance over the computer screen, just like you're looking at it now. If you come across a $100 gold certificate bill like this, you're in for a treat, because $822,500 for this one. $16,800 for this 1928 $100 bill that is a star note. Again, not going to spend a ton of time. It's in the uncirculated grade, which means it got a 60 or higher. Remember, the highest grade is 70. And yeah, that's the main reason, is the fact that it is a star note. It graded pretty highly. It is from 1928. And that's why this one sold for $16,800. If you enjoyed this video, smash that subscribe button and hit that like button. I'll see you in the next one. The coin you see on the screen right now is incredibly rare, and you do not want to spend it because it sold for a staggering $14,400. And in this video, I'm going to tell you exactly why and how you could potentially find one if you're paying attention. So first of all, this coin was graded and authenticated by a third-party company called NGC. Now, the reason why this is important is because if you don't get your coin graded like this one, then one, it simply either won't sell, or two, it will sell for a small amount of money comparatively to how much this coin sold for. So on the grading scale, 70 is the highest grade achievable, 62 is on the lower end of the mint state grade. By mint state, I pretty much just mean it's in a similar condition from the mint when it was produced. So it is a relatively good grade. What you need to know is that you don't want to damage the coin, because each grade lower can mean the difference of a lot of money. So the better the condition your coin is in, the more money it will typically bring. Now, the reason why this coin sold for $14,400 is because of this. Now remember, if the coin was in a mint state 63, 64, 65, or anything higher, it would have brought a lot more money than it sold for. But here's the reason. So what you need to have is a scale to weigh your coin. The weight of your coin can be incredibly important, because a coin like this is what collectors call a transitional coin. So in 1965 and earlier, all coins weighed 2.5 grams. In 1965, they transitioned into a copper nickel clad composition coin that weighed 2.27 grams. So this coin weighs 2.5 grams when it should actually weigh 2.27 grams. Now you want to make sure that you're not getting scammed and ripped off by a local shop or anyone like that, because there are some people out there that will take advantage of us, and that's the last thing I want for you guys. So because this one graded pretty high at a 62, and it was accidentally struck on a 90% silver planchet weighing 2.5 grams, this transitional 1965 10-cent Roosevelt dime sold for $14,400. If you learned something in this video, leave a comment below saying I learned something, as it would really help me out. Also, I have a completely free ebook down below. If you want, you can click on that, but you don't have to do that, guys. Don't worry, I will see you in the next video. How much is a $2 bill really worth? In this video, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know. This is the only video you'll ever need when it comes to $2 bills. So sit tight, and without wasting any more time, let's just hop right into this $2 bill video. So this first bill right here, by the way, I'm a big fan of $2 bills. This one sold for $3,600. Now, a few important factors that we need to understand is that $2 bills are actually still produced to this day, and the majority of them, unless they're in this video, are not that rare. I actually go to my local bank and pick up $2 bills and spend them at local stores and give them away as tips, because people go crazy over these $2 bills. Now, here are a few important things that we need to know. This $2 bill right here was from the series of 1976. Now, just because a bill has a date on it like this does not mean that's the exact year it was produced. This bill could have been produced in 1977, 1978, 1979, etc. And the reason for this is because when they're producing the plates for these $2 bills, it is a timely and costly process to produce all of these plates, and they don't want to have to change the date on that specific plate every single year. This is consistent with all denominations of paper money, by the way. And when I say denomination, I just mean $1, $2, $5, $10 bills, etc. All different denominations. So on this specific bill here, if you look on the left-hand side of the bill, you'll see a large letter A. What that means is that is the district letter. Now, you'll also see that letter A at the start of the serial number. That is always going to be the case. Now, that letter on the left can be anything from A all the way to L, and that prefix letter in the serial number should always match that large district letter. For example, example, if that was a large B, the prefix letter would also be a B. If it was a C, the prefix would be C, etc. If those are not the same, that could be very rare and valuable. Next, you're going to see 4 small number 1s around the bill. That is the district number. That 1 should always match the letter. For example, A is the first letter in the alphabet. Now, if that district number was a B, those numbers around the bill would be 2s. If the district letter was a C, the numbers around the bill would be a 3 because it's the third letter in the alphabet. If the letter and the position in the alphabet number do not match, that can be incredibly rare. Not many people know that. Also, sometimes depending on which district your bill was printed for will dictate how many bills were produced for that specific run. For example, Texas, which is District K, and San Francisco, which is District L, a lot of the times produce less bills and are worth more money. One last thing I'll say really quickly is the front plate position. Now that's going to be the tiny letter and number you see in 2 places on the front of the bill. That is more important for the Bureau of Engraving and Printing where they produce these bills. This is an internal number and letter combination just for bookkeeping purposes and understanding where the specific bill was located on the plate. What you need to know is that if there is no FW before that plate position on the front of the bill, that means your bill is produced at the Washington, D.C. facility. If you see a small FW on your bill, that means it was produced at the Fort Worth facility. There are only 2 places in the U.S. that U.S. paper money is produced. That's in Washington, D.C. and Fort Worth, Texas. Now, the main reason why this bill sold for $3,600 is because it's missing the first print. Now, it's important to know that during the printing process, the back of the bill is printed first, then the front of the bill is printed second, and the third and final print is going to be the district seal on the left, the treasury seal on the right, the serial numbers at the top right and bottom left, and the district numbers, which are those 4 black numbers around the bill. That is the last print. This bill is completely missing the first print, which is the back. Now, if you come across a bill like this, you need to get it authenticated because there are people out there that will see a video like this, try to strip away the front or the back of a bill to replicate this look and make it look like a true error. Now, I advise against that for multiple reasons. 1, you're defacing US federal currency, which is against the law, and 2, that would be fraud because you're intentionally scamming and ripping someone off by altering US paper money. And 3, come on, I somewhat believe in karma, and this is just bad practice if you're trying to rip someone off by altering a bill like this. Now, the good thing about this one is it was authenticated by a third-party company called PMG, where they grade and authenticate the bill. Now, this one was graded by PMG at a 50 EPQ, which means there will be some folds and some denting on the bill. If you get to a 60 or higher, that means there's pretty much no folds whatsoever. Every single fold that you put on your bill will decrease the value, so keep it somewhere safe and flat. If you don't have anywhere for the time being, keep it in a book or somewhere flat so it does not get bent. Just do not forget about it because I've literally found rare paper money in a book that I bought before. That is a true story. You do not want to be that person who forgets a rare bill in a book. But again, because this one is missing that back first print, this bill sold for $3,600. Now, when you're looking at the back of this bill, you have no idea why it sold for $19,200. And remember, the back of the bill is printed first, the front of the bill is printed second, and the last print is the overprint, which when we flip the bill over, you'll see that third and final print is doubled. This is a great example of showing you which print is the third print. Everything that is not doubled right there is the second print. Everything that is doubled is the third print. What you need to know is that this is one of the most highly altered bills I've seen when it comes to $2 bills. People will essentially put this in their printer and try to replicate this error and sell it online for a lot of money. There's a few ways you can tell the difference. If you come across one of these bills, you need to see it in person and get a USB microscope or a magnifying glass, and you want to loop the area that's doubled. Now, if it's an altered bill, the area that's doubled is going to look like it was through a printer. There's going to be laser printed particles on the bill, and the seal and serial numbers will not look the same. You pretty much want to look for characteristics that are similar. Another way to tell is that if you look closely at the end of the serial number, you'll see that it ends with 644 and the serial number below ends with 640. There's a reason for that. When this machine is stamping these bills, every time it comes down and puts a serial number on the bill, the dial will shift and turn to a new number and print again. All of the altered ones I've seen use this identical number, which is very uncommon unless that serial number printer got somehow jammed and wasn't able to rotate the dial. What you need to know is that if you come across a bill like this, make sure you understand if it's real or not. Don't be spending a lot of money unless you have it in hand and you're confident that it's real. Lastly, just get it graded because that's the way to get the most money for a bill like this that sold for $19,200. $1,150 for this 1976 $2 bill. Now I'll jump right into this one. If you can see at the end of the serial number, there is a star designation. That means that this is a star or replacement note. What that means essentially is that during the printing process, these bills are produced in sheets, and sometimes those sheets have an error on the sheet, and a quality control manager will mark off the sheet so it could be later destroyed. Now, whenever they destroy any paper money, they need to replace that destroyed money to keep up with the checks and balances and to make sure that nobody inside is actually stealing the money. Everything is very well calculated and recorded to make sure that they're producing enough money for the US, and also there's no theft going on. So what you need to know is that if a specific print run had a lot of errors, the star notes are going to be worth less. But if there is a small number of errors that happened, that means there's not going to be too many star notes. The less star notes there are, the more demand there is for a specific series. What you also need to know is that this one graded at a 68 PPQ. That's only 2 points away from the perfect grade of 70. Now, the way that you get a high grade with paper money is essentially you need to have your bill have no folds or bends on it whatsoever. And also the centering of the bill needs to be very well centered. You can see the margins or the white area around the bill. They're all pretty equal. Sometimes it will be misaligned and shifted around. Essentially what you need to know is the more centered your bill is, the better, because this one, they graded at a 68 PPQ, sold for $1,150. So this is a genuine real bill. I won't spend too much time here, but it's sold for $88,125. What you need to know is that 1928, when this bill was produced, was the first year they started producing small size paper money bills. This red that you see here is completely normal. This is considered to be a legal tender note. Now, yes, you could technically bring this to a bank or a store and pay with it and get $2 of value for it, but there's a few reasons why that would be a horrible idea. One, it's worth a lot more money to collectors, given that it sold for $88,125. And two, most people think these bills are fake, and they would probably, unfortunately, call the cops. There are literally stories of that out there. Remember, this is a star note, so on top of it already being rare from 1928, it being a high grade by PMG at a 65, to bat, it's also a star note. So it's got so many good things going on for it, which is why it sold for $88,125. Not going to spend too much time here, but $35,250 for this 1976 $2 bill star note that is a serial number 1. Now that's the main reason here, guys, is that it is a high grade and it's also a serial number 1. What you need to know is that the better looking the serial number is, the more rare it is, the more valuable it's going to be. Because the star note graded very highly and it's a serial number 1, it sold for $35,250. Not going to spend a lot of time here, but this $2 bill sold for $79,312.50. So this is one of my favorite types of bills. This is an 1869 $2 bill. That's right, from the year 1869. And this is also a large size bill. Again, 100% real, genuine bill. Now, collectors call this a rainbow note due to the colors on the bill. You can see there's the blue security fibers on the left. There's the green ornate colors on the top. And then you have the large spiked red seal on the right-hand side. Just look at how beautiful the design of this bill is. Look at the back, all of the detail that goes into a bill like this. Now, remember, this is after the Confederate War, so they were adding more security features to reduce counterfeiting. This bill graded at a monster 68. That's 2 points away from 70, which is the perfect grade. If you have a rainbow note from 1869, one of my favorite types of bills, you've hit the mother lode, because this one sold for almost $80,000. I'll try to hit this one quick, but this $2 bill sold for $2,530. So the first thing you'll notice on this bill is that it says specimen on the front and the back. Those are stamps that are produced by the Bureau of Engraving and Printing. So the story on these specimen notes is that there are banks around the world that accept US federal currency, and they needed some way to tell if people were giving them fake bills or not. So what the US did was they produced specimen bills and they shipped them across the world to different banks so they could have a baseline of what a genuine bill looked like. That's all a specimen note really is. Sometimes specimen notes are an example of a bill before it goes into final production. Now, a way you can tell if you have a specimen note is the serial number. Almost all of the time, the serial number will be a fancy serial. This example goes from 2 all the way to 9 consecutively. I've seen serial numbers that are solid zeros. They'll pretty much be anything except a normal serial number. Now, that's important because there are people out there that will get a small specimen stamper and try to replicate this because they can say, hey, I can turn a $2 bill into $2,500 like this person did. But again, this is a genuine bill because it was authenticated by PMG. If you have a specimen note, it could be very rare because again, guys, this one sold for $2,530. If you did or did not know about specimen notes, leave me a comment below letting me know if you learned something or you already knew about these bills, and I'll see you guys in the next video. The coin you're looking at on the screen right now sold for over $1.1 million. This is a groundbreaking world record sale that happened for this 1958 Lincoln cent coin. Now, this coin was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. That means there's no mint mark on the coin, and they produced over 252 million of these coins. And guess what? There's only 3 of this exact coin known, and this is the highest grade. The 2 other examples were graded at a 64 mint state grade. This one got the 65. That means it is the finest known example out there. So what makes it so rare and valuable? Well, this is what collectors call a doubled die obverse coin. Essentially, during the minting process, the hubs accidentally struck each other and caused doubling on only a few coins. Now, there is a possibility that there are more out there because there are a total of 3 known. This is definitely a coin that you want to keep your eyes peeled for. Now, the way you tell if you have one is there's going to be clear doubling occurring on Liberty at the left and In God We Trust at the top. Now, did you know there was only 3 of these before watching this video? Leave a comment down below letting me know if you knew about it or not. As always, I produce videos every day and I will see you guys tomorrow. These nickel coins that I go over in this video sold for a ton of money, and you need to keep your eyes peeled for them. That way you don't accidentally miss out on a rare coin that sold for a lot of money. Let's just hop into this video. So this 1972D 5-cent Jefferson nickel sold for $1,440, and this coin was graded by PCGS at a mint state 62. So it's very important if you come across a rare coin that you do get it graded and authenticated. That way you get the most money for your coin. Now, you need to be careful because there are people out there that want to scam and rip us off, and that's why videos like this and doing your own homework and research are so important to making sure that you do not get scammed. This coin is a great example of a coin that I could see someone bringing into a coin shop or a pawn shop, the store owner knowing it's worth money, and they just offer the person a few $100s when in reality it sold for $1,440. So let's point out the elephant in the room. If you look at this coin, you can tell that something's wrong. The color is weird. It looks a bit smaller than usual, and that's because the coin was accidentally struck on a Philippines 5-cent coin. Now, this coin was graded again by PCGS at a 62. The highest grade achievable is 70, but 62 is still a good grade, but there are a good amount of nicks and gashes on the coin. If your coin looks like this, it's a bit smaller, the color's off, there's a good chance that you have a rare coin because this one sold for $1,440. $32,900 for this 1964 5-cent Jefferson nickel that graded at a 68. So this coin is incredibly rare and valuable because it is a special mint set coin. More on that in a moment, but this one also has a full steps designation. Now, if you flip the coin over, you can look in the back center of the coin above Monticello. If you have an uncirculated coin, meaning high graded condition, and it has those full steps there, it can be worth more money. Now, those full steps are the highest point on the coin. They are the hardest to strike, and they get worn down the quickest during circulation, so they are a highly sought after feature on these coins. So special mint set coins typically went out to mint employee families, so the probability of finding a coin like this in circulation or pocket change is slim to none. You're more likely finding a coin like this in a collection than you are in pocket change. Some people say there are less than 100 of these out there, but it is possible to come across one, guys, so make sure you keep your eyes peeled for a rare special mint set coin like this from 1964 because this one sold for $32,900. If you learned something in this video, smash that like button. It would really help me out, and I'll see you in the next one.